belief, wealth, and power. These three pillars absolutely define the destiny of the Indian subcontinent over millennia. So today, we're diving straight into this explainer to uncover the deep historical undercurrents of one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations, drawing from some truly fascinating historical records and archaeological discoveries. Right off the bat, I want you to think about this. What in the world connects a 4.5 million-year-old burial axe, a blood-soaked diamond, and a mysterious chain of traveling flatbreads? I mean, it literally sounds like the setup for a historical thriller, right? But these three wild artifacts actually represent massive shifts in human psychology, imperial greed, and military strategy that profoundly shaped the modern world. So here is our roadmap for today. First up, the birth of belief. Then, the mountain of light. Third, the mischance of 1857. After that, divide, rule, and conquer. And finally, reclaiming India's stolen history. All right, let's jump right into the first pillar. Section 1. The birth of belief. How the Indus Valley built an unconquerable face. Okay, let's rewind to the dawn of civilization. When early humans finally settled down to farm, population sizes totally exploded. And living in these huge groups of thousands meant that, just to survive without constant chaos, humans had to invent complex social structures and shared beliefs to build trust among total strangers. Because of this, we're looking at a massive demographic reality today. Despite thousands of ancient faiths popping up worldwide, about 80% of humanity now follows religions born in just two specific geographic pockets. Both the Middle East and the Indian subcontinent saw these intense population booms, which basically forced the creation of deep, foundational belief systems. And this leads us to a really fascinating paradox. While the Middle East centralized its faith to manage its growing cities, relying on single deities and rigid institutional laws, the Indus Valley went in a wildly different direction. They chose a completely decentralized path. Over time, their foundational 33 deities expanded into a massive philosophical structure with an estimated 330 million manifestations. Basically, it was a system built on infinite truths and super-localized dispersed rituals. Now, imagine trying to conquer a religion that literally has no headquarters. This entirely decentralized structure is exactly why Hinduism survived thousands of years of foreign invasions without ever being fully conquered or converted by a single empire's sword. Think about it. When foreign conquerors rolled in, there wasn't a single religious head to execute. There was no central, supreme temple they could destroy to just collapse the whole faith. The belief system was embedded in every village, every tree, and every family. That fluidity made it just incredibly resilient. Moving on to Section 2, the Mountain of Light, a bloody pursuit of material wealth. So if belief was the invisible glue holding this civilization together, immense material wealth was the giant magnet pulling the rest of the world to its borders. And honestly, no single object represents this better than the legendary Kohinoor diamond. Just tracing this blood-soaked timeline, you see it change hands through constant betrayal and war. Originally discovered in the Golconda mines, it was violently taken by the Khuljis, inherited by the Mughals, and then looted by Nader Shah of Iran, who, fun fact, is the one who actually named it the Mountain of Light. From there, it found its way to the Sikh Empire before the British finally claimed it through a forced treaty with, get this, a 5-year-old king. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. When the British public first saw this majestic 793-carat jewel in London, a stone that was literally once valued at half the world's daily food supply, they were kinda underwhelmed by its traditional Indian cut. So what did they do? Queen Victoria actually ordered it to be recut, permanently slashing its size down to a mere 105.6 carats, just so it would sparkle a bit more in the crown jewels. Unbelievable, right? But there's a dark twist. The diamond seemingly carried this vicious curse that systematically destroyed the empires of pretty much every male ruler who dared to claim it as their own. I mean, Nader Shah went completely mad and was assassinated by his own guards. The Sikh Empire rapidly collapsed after Maharaja Ranjit Singh acquired it. The British actually took this local legend so seriously that they established a strict royal protocol. Only female members of the royal family are ever permitted to wear the Kohinoor. All right, Section 3, the mischance of 1857, when the decentralized nature of India became its downfall. Jumping to the mid-19th century, the very same decentralization that saved India's religion ultimately caused them to lose their military freedom. The 1857 revolt was a massive near victory. It was the absolute closest the subcontinent came to overthrowing British rule, a full 90 years before actual independence. But they lacked a unified national vision. They had the numbers for sure, and they even had British forces completely surrounded in Delhi. But major, powerful princely states either protected the British or just fought for their own localized borders. Conquered territories were left to totally untrained civilian militias. And on top of that, they lost out on crucial foreign military aid because Russia had just lost the Crimean War. So it wasn't a unified war for an independent nation. It was just a fractured mess of localized uprisings. And honestly, nothing highlights the sheer bizarre nature of this disorganized conflict quite like the Chapati movement. It's exactly what it sounds like, a mysterious network passing flatbreads across the country. Village watchmen secretly passed these breads through the night, covering 300 kilometers, moving even faster than the British mail service. It caused massive confusion for the British, but here's the kicker. Nobody on the rebel side actually knew what the breads meant either. It was a massive communication misfire that ended up wasting 6 months of vital momentum, giving the British the exact time they needed to bring in battle-hardened reinforcements. Section 4. Divide, Rule, and Conquer. Weaponizing religious diversity. In the immediate aftermath of that revolt, the British realized something terrifying. Hindu-Muslim unity was their absolute greatest threat. The rebellion had originally sparked precisely because soldiers from different faiths united over a shared religious grievance. So the empire surgically applied a strategic formula to permanently shatter that bond. First, they mixed things up by hiring soldiers based on ability rather than traditional caste lines. Then, they heavily utilized psychological warfare, literally swapping saffron flags for green ones on Hindu temples just to intentionally incite violent riots. Finally, they banned religious attire like turbans, beards, and tillaks in the military to strip away unique identities, making sure soldiers would look at the guy next to them with deep suspicion rather than absolute brotherhood. Just listen to this astonishing quote, paraphrasing British Governor General Lord Canning back in 1857. "The clock had ticked so close to our doom, we could have been trampled by the Indians." This proves just how terrifyingly close the Indian revolutionaries actually came to wiping out British rule entirely, had they just stayed united. It was this exact near-death experience for the British Empire that completely motivated their aggressive, long-term implementation of the divide and rule strategy. And finally, Section 5, Reclaiming India's Stolen History, the modern fight for repatriation. Bringing us right up to the modern era, the deep scars of these historical conquests have sparked a massive cultural movement. Today, the conversation isn't about muskets or rebellions anymore. It's about artifacts, heritage, and the moral right to a civilization's historical identity. A staggering $6 billion valuation represents just a tiny fraction of the immense material wealth, like the Kohinoor, that the current repatriation of the past campaign is actively fighting to bring back to Indian soil. This campaign is putting heavy, relentless pressure on former colonial powers to return stolen treasures. And while the legal battles definitely highlight the messy complexities of colonial-era treaties, the cultural demand to bring these historical assets home is louder than it's ever been. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really provocative question to think about. When a civilization's wealth and history are scattered across foreign museums all over the world, who truly has the right to own the past? And will it ever find its way home? From the ancient origins of human belief to the strategic blunders of war and the enduring legacy of a cursed diamond, the story of the Indian subcontinent is just a profound lesson in how belief, wealth, and power intertwine. Thank you so much for joining me as we unraveled this incredible historical tapestry.